Okay, so in our first video on the series, we talked about the three keys to keeping an edge, or to basically to keeping an edge in competitive states or in places where you want to stand out um, as the leader or as a standout team player, employee, whatever the case may be, or just closing the gap on your goals every day. How to make sure that whatever you're trying to achieve every day is a day that closes that gap. And we talked about those three things being attitude, work ethic, and student mentality. And that most people don't understand that those are three very simple things that you can bring every day consciously. You can just turn it on and off. Has nothing to do with talent. That will rise you above talent or above any obstacles that you face on a daily basis. So I want to focus just a little bit on attitude, and I'm going to do a lot of videos on attitude because obviously attitude is where it all starts and ends. Because your day begins and ends with attitude. It can begin and trail off from there based on the beginnings to having just a terrible day. Or it could start off great and one thing could trigger you and set you off and lose your attitude, and the rest of the day is gone. So you can see why attitude is so important. If you lose your attitude, if you get frustrated, if you get depressed, if you get angry, if you show, if you have over emotional states, then you're not productive. Then you're not allowing yourself to be productive at that point. And so every minute and hour that you waste being negative instead of solving the problems is a minute that is taking you longer to get to your goals, that's making you look ridiculous in a team situation usually. Okay, so with attitude, what you have to think about is every day means something. And if I'm working and I'm getting paid, then, every hour means something to me and the person I'm being paid to. But anytime I'm wasting time on something, I want to achieve something with my time. Okay, if I'm showing up to work, if I'm showing up to anything, I'm showing up. I'm showing up to be the best I can, or else there's no point in being there. And so attitude has got to be consistent throughout the day. So what is a winning attitude? Well, I'm going to tackle this in a lot of different ways, but I want to have you understand that there are things out there that are in charge of attacking your attitude on a daily basis. And so if you're wondering why you haven't achieved a lot of the success that you've been trying to achieve, or if you've been stuck in a rut, it's not entirely your fault. And you should forgive yourself. But it's time to become conscious of what is playing games with you. And so I like to think of them as the board members, if you will, the presidents of the board, the executives of the board, the executive team in your life. Okay, so there's this executive team that meets at a board. There's four of them. Okay, you can imagine these four sitting at an executive table, and they're in charge of making sure that you don't achieve your goals, and that you look ridiculous on a daily basis, that you look incompetent, that you look like someone that people can't rely on. That's these guys' job. All right, so let's go over them. The first one we want to talk about, the president of the boards, if you will, the first one is your personal affairs. And this executive is in charge of making sure your personal life is falling apart on a daily basis, basically. Whether it's something as severe as having relationship problems, or as medical problems from one of your family members or yourself, to something as simple as school functions for your kids, or just wanting to play more golf and it getting in the way of your ability to focus because you work too much. Any of these things that are in your personal life that cause crisis and resistance, these struggles, the executive is not only in charge of making them apparent and existent in your life, but blowing them up on a daily basis. If you're wondering why you wake up in the morning and you stub your toe, or you burn your bagel on a daily basis, or you're always late to work, or why your wife woke up yesterday and really just treated you terrible, so it made you feel terrible on the way to work, and why that kind of thing happens, This is who you have to blame, Mr. Personal Affairs. Okay. The second executive on this board is Mr. Climate. Right. We are very dependent on room temperature, as we call it. Most of us, it's very hot today. I took my dad out for a full round of golf in weather like this the other week, and by the ninth hole, he wasn't even playing. He was just watching me driving in the golf cart, a shady golf cart. He was done. No way. 85 degrees outside. Can't do it. So, we don't think the weather plays a role, but it does, and we're very conscious of it, and it messes with our emotions, and we have to be conscious of that fact. Mr. Climate Control, if you live in a place like Denver, Colorado, where I live, in one day you could wake up to snow, and by the end of the day have a sunny day like this. Experience rain and hail in between. That could be pretty tough. One of the first businesses I owned was a door-to-door sales company. And I had to go out in the field and train my people and do most of the sales because really nobody was good at it as I was. So if I wanted to make any money on a daily basis, I had to go do it. Well, if it's snowing, I got two choices. It's snowing, I can't be out there, I can't be outside knocking on doors, or it's snowing. This is a real good opportunity to find people in their doors. So, point is that it always seems that the climate is never right for what you're trying to do. And this executive is not only there to make sure that's true, but to put it in its most extreme cases at its most extreme moments. We've all been caught in the storm in one way or another, or caught in the heat without water in the worst circumstances and still expected to perform. That is what climate control is all about. It's never fun to wake up first thing in the morning and face a full day of work and forget to put your car in the garage, or not even be able to, and know that you have to shovel all that snow before you even get started with the bitch fest that you have waiting for you at work. That's Mr. Climate Control. He's making it tough for you. Alongside with him, the third one is Mr. Sales Mindedness, as I call him. And he's a real mindfuck, to be honest with you. Mr. Sales Mindedness is where you get from what we would call your typical salesperson. And nothing against sales. I've lived my whole life on sales. There is no more freedom that you can find in your life than being good at sales. But the sales mentality is different. The sales mentality is when sales are good, it's easy, we're happy, and we're quitting early. When sales are bad, we're not working any harder, and we're quitting early again because sales are bad. And so it gets you both ways. It's talking to you. It's telling you you've done enough today. Don't push. Don't go the extra mile. Go eat some chips. Go sit in front of the TV. You've done well. Because it's been easy that day. It's time to push yourself. On a bad day, it's telling you this day is just not your day. I was talking to this 22-year-old, and I feel so sorry for young 25-year-olds. Let's face it, we've brought up a generation that doesn't have a lot of love in their life, and so confidence is the thing that they are really dealing with on a daily basis. And she recently graduated as a masseuse for massage therapy, and now she's in her hours of having to do volunteer hours to qualify for her license. And twice she has woken up and canceled a full day's worth of appointments, which is not only embarrassing, but sets her so far away from actually making money and getting returns from this investment she's made. It's heartbreaking to hear. And it all has to do with just how the day started and losing your attitude, losing your confidence. And to think that at that extreme, I usually talk from this basis from my perspective. If I lose my attitude, I'll usually yell at someone and make an ass of myself, and then I really have a hard time focusing for the rest of the day until I calm down or something of that nature. She's losing her attitude and calling it quits right away because probably she stubbed her toe in the morning, or just didn't look good in the mirror or something of that nature. That kind of resistance is getting in the way of your life, and that is what Mr. Sales Mentality is doing to you. And the fourth man on that table, that fourth person on that table that's sitting there making sure that it's tough, that you don't reach your goals all the time, that you don't lose weight or whatever your achievements are that you're trying to seek, okay? There's one more out there. Yeah, there's four of them. So you got Mr. Personal Affairs, you got Mr. Climate, and you got Mr. Sales Mentality, right? But this could be the toughest one, Mr. Relationship. Mr. Relationship are the people that are your haters. They're tough because almost everyone in your life has an opinion on what you should be doing, if not everyone. And it's very conceited of them to do so, but they don't know that. And so every single day you spend going from person to person to person telling you what you need to do. And that can be really, really discouraging, really hard. Because most of them are telling you that what you want to do is wrong. And so it's hard to believe in yourself, and it's hard to believe in your goals, and it's hard to have discernment when it seems like everyone in your world hates you or hates on your goals. And when you try to get someone excited about this new idea you got, they'll never appreciate it as much as you do. And unfortunately, the nature of people is once you tell them that goal and it sticks in their mind, don't expect them to be figuring out conscious solutions of how you're going to get there all day long. They're going to be spending their days figuring out how you're not going to get there, putting that energy out there in the universe. It's tough, okay? These 4 have made it really, really tough on you. They're the chairman of the boards. They're in charge. They're in charge of your everyday, your success every single day, and they're putting it on you, all 4 of them together at once sometimes. Out of the 7 days you worked this week, how many of them were easy? And how many of them were at the hands of the chairman of the boards? Okay? But at this table, if you imagine these 4, there's 2 on each side of the table. There's always one at the top, the president, the numero uno, the El Chapón, in so many people's worlds right now, the Trump, the president, the guy who says all your ideas are right or wrong, at the top of the board, who makes the final decision, who sits at the top of the table. His name is Mr. Attitude, and he decides what these things mean in your life and what kind of impact they're going to have on your day. And that's you. And that's your decision and your perspective. And if you've got the wrong perspective on something, if you woke up and saw that snow and are hating it, then it's as simple as taking a few breaths, deep ones, thinking about it, finding something good about it. Expending energy is always good, and shoveling snow actually gets you a little bit in shape. It'll get your heart beating. You may even be late to work. You may have to do it a little bit faster than normal. So your heart might be beating a little bit faster, so that when you get in there and you have to face your boss who wants to know why you're 10 minutes late, you're sharp. Your heart's beating already. Your muscles are toned. Things are happening. You look alive. That's Mr. Attitude working. That's Mr. Attitude taking every one of those situations and flipping it around and making it a positive and saying, this isn't going to rock my attitude. I'm going to use this as a stepping stone. That is how you free yourself from resistance and handicapping and blaming others. That is how you get to the next level. When you realize that you are the president and your attitude, that every one of those situations that those executives are putting in front of you, there's 2 ways to go. They want you to go this way, but Mr. Attitude can take you this way. And this is the way to peace, abundance, and anything else you want. Keep your attitude, my friends. Things will look up.